So why did I start a YouTube channel? And why did Dan, the Lonely Rocker, start his YouTube channel? Would we have also started a YouTube channel if we were a multimillionaire? And what does this have to do with taking risks? These are all questions that I'm discussing in a video together with Dan. And this is actually a cut up segment of a conversation that we had. We had a 2-hour long conversation last year, and I really want to share this with you guys. Now, linked below is also a segment on Dan's channel, so really check it out over there, because I committed to a guitar lesson as well. So we'll see how that turns out. But for now, let's jump into the conversation. Would you have started a YouTube channel if you would be a multimillionaire right now? Like for me, there was a certain urge to it as well. The main reason why I started because I found it interesting and it's fun to do. And I think you cannot even survive on YouTube if you only do it for the money or whatever. But for me, there was also an urge behind it because I needed to make more money and I needed to promote myself better. Mm-hmm. And those were the reasons why I did it. And if I would be in a very comfortable position, I'm not sure if I even started this. I don't know.
Well, I can echo that sentiment because when I started my YouTube channel, I just because I wanted to do it, but I didn't give much thought into it. And ironically, my very first video is still my most successful video. I don't know why. Okay. It still gets like 10, 15,000 views a month. I wish I could figure that formula for the rest of my videos. Yeah. But as I started getting into it, I mean, I've always worked sort of on my own. I mean, the Lonely Rocker, my moniker for my channel, it's sort of autobiographical because I kind of do on my own. Even musically, I'll play multiple instruments, so that's where the idea came from. But I started pushing more and more because I realized it was a good way to network. As I do have a marketing background, and the fact that even at my size, I'm meeting companies and I'm building relationships, and that's something that I would try to do in the physical world. And I realized I could reach so much further this way and get to talk about stuff that I genuinely love. I mean, I make money doing commercials, but I don't get goosebumps from a Cheerios commercial. I get goosebumps from the paycheck, but the content is, I mean, I'm proud of the work that I do, and I put myself into every project that I do. I don't want to belittle, what's brought me here, but I started to see an opportunity, and even actually COVID, my whole life sort of changed, and it's made things more complicated. But being home is actually important. The fact that I have worked at home for most of my career, and I started to say, well, if I could sort of leverage this as an opportunity, I've built up the studio, I have a know-how, if I can make it happen. And I'm not getting rich doing it, but I love it so much, and I hope that genuineness will carry me forward. But that's what drives me, because I love all this stuff. Like I want to be buried in a Marshall cab when I'm done, right? That's just me.
I have that also. I think you understand this feeling. Like the first thing that I have when I have a new piece of equipment or whatever, what I now think, I see it and I'm like, oh, I can't wait to share this with my viewers. That's what I always think. Like I want to make a video about it. I actually, before we started this conversation, I was recording a Q&A. And I was talking about that whole Motu thing, how that thing blew up. And I was just realizing, like, I forgot to turn on the camera. I forgot to film this. Maybe because I was like too stressed to get it working and stuff. I just completely forgot that there's a story there. But like I just want to share all that stuff. I have a urge in myself that I want to share this experience and the knowledge and the humor, of course.
You know why? I try to talk about this stuff with my wife, and she's just like, okay.
I don't know.
I need to talk about it, right? And so this way we know there's people who love this stuff with us, so they want to just jump into the conversation, right?
Yeah, I don't actually know why I want this. It's just a feeling in me. It feels good to do it, and I like to do it. I've always had a weak point for video, so I like video stuff in general. I'm not good at it, but I like video. producing, editing, that kind of stuff. It's all super interesting.
Well, the best advice I could give people, and I kind of learned it the hard way, is that because we talk about everyone has a different the risk quotient, right?
Yeah.
You know how some people are risk averse. You know, they just want to get their 9 to 5 and they want the security.
Yeah.
But what I learned is that being conservative can be one of the most risky things in the world. And because nothing is guaranteed. You could put 10, 15, 20 years in a company and have that guaranteed paycheck and, you know, work your way up the ladder. And then on a whim, somebody decides that you don't fit here anymore. And those 20 years, okay, it was 20 years of, you know, getting paid and living, but now you have to suddenly start again. I mean, you're not going to be in a company with 20 years of experience and respected the same way. You're going to have to work your way back in. You might have to take a pay cut. And I've seen this happening to people that I know, you know, intimately who've struggled with that. But I'm just saying, in terms of taking risks, is that being conservative can be one of the most risky things, because what's the payoff at the end? I mean, I've had a couple of small startups on the side, and, you know, one of them failed miserably. One of them was doing okay, but wasn't making enough money to sustain longer. I've never lost my shirt on any venture I've ever done. But I've always been on the outside of the mainstream and just kind of do it my own way. And I don't regret it. It's not easy. It's, you know, still hustling and making things happen, but that's the game. And it's sometimes part of the fun.
I actually have to say, like, after what you're saying, like I do agree with that, actually. Maybe being conservative is risky if you think about it. Yeah, it's very interesting how that works. I'm now also.
It's hard to say it when you're in it. When you're younger and you're working and you feel like I have a secure job and I'm paying my mortgage and my rent and I'm eating and I'm blah 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 blah. But when you start to get older, you look back on the time that you spent and say, well, what do I have to show for all of that? And someone who was an entrepreneur who actually built a successful business and has some equity, they can cash out their equity and live a comfortable old age, where other people are going to be more reliant upon their pension and any RSPs or savings that they've made, and, you know, they're going to scale back, and that's typically what most people do. So
isn't it also like taking risk maybe also is some kind of a muscle? So you have to train it, and if you have taken more risks and you build up that muscle, and whenever something happens, whenever you get a hit, you can easily move around it or whatever. While if you are like 20 years with the same company and so all of a sudden you get laid off, then that's not something you're used to deal with. Like, it's a bit of complex how I'm trying to explain it, but I think that
I know exactly what you're saying, but I think it's true. But you have to sort of be exposed to it to understand it, and if you don't experience it and you don't understand it, too many people will be too afraid to jump into it. Like, I've talked to people who have been working in a job for years and years and years. I said, well, why don't you just go freelance and do your own thing? Oh, I can never do that. And I'm like, and I think about how I started, because when I got out of college and I got into video editing, I was working for this company, really strange company, but did that for a little bit, and then that thing fell apart. And as I walked outside of the day that they laid everybody off, they basically were going out of business. There was a company in the same complex that I used to go buy tape stock from, and I walked in there and I said, oh, you're not going to believe what just happened. And they said, oh, so are you freelancing? And I'm like, yeah. And they go, what's your rate? And I'm like, I had two rates in my head, a higher one and a lower one. Yeah. So I said the lower one, and they go, okay, you want to come work for us next week? I said, shit, I should have said the higher one, right? And then, but it's funny, it kept working that way. And then I got a job where I was working for a few years, and I was actually the senior video editor for this big post house. And I was just getting burnt out there, and I wanted to move on. So I got moved into another, through a client who became a friend, who pushed me into this other company. That was a bad move. After about 12 months or something, it didn't pan out. They made some decisions that just weren't good for me, and came in one day just without notice and threw me out. And I walked into the parking lot. It was a friend of mine, and I just told him what happened, and he's like, get out of here. They just threw you out. I go, no notice. They just threw me out. He goes, hang on a second. Called the contact he had at a broadcaster. I was in a new studio in like 48 hours. and that's really where my freelance career started. So it was sort of a circumstance that pushed me there. And then I realized, oh, it's actually not that difficult. But it wasn't for me, because I fell into some work that just kept going from there.
I think you sometimes need to be pushed into a certain direction. That's never bad. Again, there you go again with like being comfortable. I wouldn't, I'm still not sure if I would have started this YouTube channel when I was comfortable, but there was a lot of stuff going on in my life, and one of the ways out was starting a YouTube channel. It's not the way out, but it helped. But I think, yeah, I do agree with the fact that if you are staying comfortably where you are, that things are there's nothing going to happen. Then you're not growing.
I'm not suggesting this is comfortable. It's scary sometimes too, right? Because I don't have
it's
the
absolutely
security
not comfortable. But that's the whole.
It's frightening,
that's the whole
actually.
thing.
It's actually frightening. But
yeah, still for me, like I'm still. I think that every day I still think about like, whoa, there's so much stuff that just can happen, and that would just destroy me. Like simple things that could happen that just, well, not completely get me bankrupt or something, but really, there are still a lot of risks to what I'm doing. So, and if you think, you shouldn't think about that too long. That's what I've learned. Like, I was thinking about that more often, like 1 or 2 years ago, but I just stopped thinking about that because if you really think about it, it's crazy.
Well, you know, that's probably a topic for a standalone video. The mind of an entrepreneur. I mean, I've talked to 2 of them on my channel and turned them into videos. And it's a certain, you got to be a certain kind of animal. That's the only way I can describe it. I mean, someone described me once as I was unemployable. And not because I don't have the skills, but far from. But mentally, I'm unemployable because, and it's true. Yeah. I've thought about it. Well, you know, this rat race and hustling, I'm getting tired of it. You know what? I got skills. I've got a lot of experience. Why don't I go find a cool ad agency
Doesn't
or
work.
something? Man, I would hang myself probably before lunch on the first day. I'm not built. I'm not wired for it.
I recognize it. Oh, I recognize it so bad. I've had a few like summer jobs and that kind of stuff. And for them, it was impossible to work with me. Because I just have such a different view of how to work and that kind of stuff. And I'm not saying that I was like not doing the work. I was actually working really hard. But one of those things that I cannot understand, that I cannot manage, is why do they decide when I get hungry?
Yeah.
I mean... I'm hungry at 1 o'clock, not at 12 o'clock. And then everybody's taking a break from 12 o'clock to 12:30. I cannot eat anything. And then at 1 o'clock, I get hungry. I want to eat. Not possible. Like,
it's a certain kind of animal.
I can't do that. And that is where I want to end it for now over here. Now, linked below are all the segments that we've taken from this conversation. And what I really want to know in the comments below is... if you like these type of videos, if you want me to do another one with Dan, or maybe want me to do one with your favorite YouTuber, just let me know who that might be in the comment section. That's what the comment section is for. Although while reading comments, I'm not sure what the comment section actually is for. But yeah, if you like my channel and like my videos and want to support me, you can do that by clicking the affiliate link down in the description and buy something, a small percentage gets kicked back to the studio and helps me a lot. Another way to support me is by pledging to my Patreon campaign, which I'm going to link over here. And of course, as always, watching more videos because, well, the algorithm. So I'll link one of those videos over here. Don't forget to subscribe, keep pushing, and bye bye.